Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Sunday, July 17th, 2016. My name is Rich, and with me tonight is Bijan. How you making out?
Doing good, man. I'm super happy. This episode actually really impressed me, and I don't know. It's kind of like a love-hate relationship at this point, right? Because man, did I hate last week's episode. Like that was just brutal. This one I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. I don't know. It seems like every time the ninjas are on there, we like it more. Is it just because we know them and it makes it more engaging, or do you think the episode's actually better?
You know, that was really funny because that's the first thing that was running through my mind halfway through this episode. I'm like, am I just biased because, you know, some of these people I know, and I know them from American Ninja Warrior. But the more I thought about it, yeah, there is going to be, you can't unhide that bias, right? But I think it plays a lot more into the part where the biggest problem I've had with this show is that they don't treat it like a competition. They treated it more like a reality show of just people's stories. And this episode was the first episode this season where it actually felt like a real competition. And I think that played a major part in it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It was lots of drama, like not manufactured drama, or it didn't seem to be. It was a good race. We had some injuries to kind of push through, some record-setting paces. It was just an overall good episode, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they had the stories at the very beginning, right before the race, right? And then after that, it was just them, you seeing them run the course. And the big thing is that the big part of this episode, the story of the episode, was the course itself. How daunting and difficult it was, and especially for, I guess, Joy Cox, you know, getting through it with the ankle injury. And that was really compelling in itself as well. I think that just overall, this episode, it was a lot more stronger. There was actual crisis involved with it. It wasn't just some manufactured, oh, can this woman that, you know, is pretty much just the average size woman get through this course? You know, I'm just like, oh, come on. This one's was a lot more better.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. So running through the teams that we had the Castle Rock Commandos, the Rochester United, Freedom Trail Runners. That was from the first round that we didn't get to see.
Yeah, nobody cares about those people.
Yeah, sorry guys, if you're listening. we don't know anything about you except your name. But then we did get to see in the featured race, I think they call it, Second Chance, Free Spirits, and Blonde Ambition.
Yeah, I liked all three of these teams, especially Second Chance. I really liked that team.
Yeah, I liked them all. They were all good teams. I really liked Blind Ambition. I thought they were a great counterpoint. They're very different. Oh my God, those women were tall. They're all like 6 feet tall.
Yeah. It was a cool visual, right? Because, you know, they're a lot bigger than even the guys on the team. Yeah, it was really cool. And Second Chance, there was this lady on it. Do you remember her name? She was like the bigger girl.
No, I didn't catch their names.
Yeah, well, you know, that's a point that I want to just make in relation to last week, where it's like, this woman is as big as the lady featured last week, or even maybe bigger, but yet they didn't play it up as like this big, daunting thing. And you just see her kill the course, right? She was like just doing great. And that's the type of stuff that I like to see. It's cool if you're not as in shape as everybody else on the course, but you can't have it play as the main story of an entire episode, especially because most people that run Spartan races, you see people way, way bigger than that. So I felt like this was the perfect accentuation of just all the main points that we were making last week with that.
Yeah, I remember her now, they say that. So she and the other guy on the team, he was addicted to heroin, she was an alcoholic, and they both gained weight after they kicked their addictions. Unfortunately, that's all too common, I think. You trade one addiction for another. Mm-hmm. Drop the spoon and grab the fork, I think he said, which I thought was, you know, for a tragic situation, kind of a funny saying. But yeah, I liked their story. I thought it was really good. And yeah, like you said, all three teams were really, really interesting to watch run, even though it was very one-sided because Free Spirits just dominated.
They did. Yeah. But I think you could, as soon as they were making it clear that, you know, they were on track to beat the record, I think it was very clear that they were going to win, right? So the story for the other two teams were, will they make it to second place and get on to the finals? And I thought that was okay because they didn't really spoil them getting to the final. To the finals. It could have been the team from the first seed, or it could have been one of the other teams. We just didn't know till the very end. So I found that very invigorating. And I appreciate the fact that it was just more about the competition.
Yep, I liked it too. And Grant McCartney and Neil Craver made it so interesting, and their teamwork was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe that they're not, you know, they don't run these regularly. Like how amazing were they? The whole team, really, not even just them.
I was about to say, not just them, the entire team. The women on the team were super impressive for me. Their team captain was good, you know, but the true story was just how well everybody on the team knew their bodies, they knew their strengths and weaknesses, and they were able to adjust so perfectly to every situation. Even when they were in the biggest crisis mode, they were able to adjust and still persevere. That's the kind of stuff that I really look for, not only in American Ninja Warrior, but also in Spartans. And they are a tough team to beat. Before the ankle injury, for me, it was clear they were number one seed. I have to imagine that the finals were filmed just days after this run, so I don't know how well that ankle is going to hold up for Joy Cox. But we'll get into that later.
Yeah, that happened in the other heat. So let's just talk about the first race first. So they get to the lake crossing or the lake swing, and it's a trapeze bar. It's not the log swing that we've seen before, and they did it flawlessly. Like, I loved their whole strategy for that. Was just fantastic.
Yeah, man. Like, they're so in sync. It was perfect.
Yeah, they just start, you know, Grant and Neil stay back. They shoot the women across first, right? They give them a push so that they have
It wasn't even just a push, though. They, picked them up, you know, gave them extra leverage for a backswing. Like, it was awesome to see.
Yeah. And then even when when their captain went, they helped him get across. And then the two of them, of course, that's very similar to what they do on American Ninja Warrior. So for them to do, you know, a lache off of that bar is a lot easier than most people, I would think.
Yeah, but this is the stuff that I want to see, right? Like, this is why it would be more important for everybody to have to land on the pads, and if not, they have to swim back. Because it brings up moments like this, where it's kind of like the slip wall, where you have to find different techniques to get past that obstacle. It's not something where it's like, oh, I failed, whatever, moving on. It's actually something where it has consequences.
Yeah, they just, I don't know. We've talked before about even trying to do it properly can hurt you in the end because everybody else is just falling in and you're trying to land on the pad. Now, they didn't even lose time for that, right? Their method was just perfect.
Yeah, because they're so fast. And it was interesting because when they first initially started the entire race, you saw them flying up the mountain, and I was getting really worried for them. I was like, oh boy, they're going to burn themselves out.
I was thinking the exact same thing, yeah.
Yeah, but these guys' cardio must be on a whole nother level, right?
Yeah, and then you get to the army crawl, and Neil dives under it and goes flying through the mud.
Yeah, I have to say, because the army crawl for me is so incredibly tiring, right? Like, it's such a deceptive obstacle. For me, I am just dying halfway through those things. It is crazy to me. I've never seen somebody fly through it that quickly. Typically, you have to go on your side and roll through, you know, and all that stuff. But these guys were just like, I don't know, like Spider-Man crawling through this thing, just flying past it. I've never seen somebody get through that so quickly. I was super, super impressed. I think this, for me, was the one where it really caught my eye, where it's like, these guys know what they're doing. They're not just people from American Ninja Warrior just trying this out for fun. No, these people have at least trained on this, or they know already like how to do these different obstacles. They were completely legit. With that said, also, I felt bad because everybody on that team is sleeveless and are wearing shorts. So it might not show on this episode, but the next day I can guarantee they were hurting really bad, having cuts all over their arms and legs. They must have been in some pain the next day, man.
Yeah, I would think so. You go through, was it 150 feet that they said?
I think 122 or something like that, but it's really, really long. The show doesn't do it justice for how long it is.
Yeah, and it took him 21 seconds. It took Neil specifically 21 seconds to do it.
Yeah, just crazy, man.
But there's all kinds of indications that they, like you said, they trained for it, they planned for it. They seem to be one step ahead of everybody. Like, they get to the totem climb, and Grant's pulling the rope taut so that they can climb it faster. Like, it seemed like they almost knew the course ahead of time and had everything planned out.
Yep. And good on them, you know. These are the kind of things where I appreciate, you know, they were prepared.
Yeah, and it was, like you said, it was kind of interesting and still engaging to watch the other two, because that race for the wild card spot was good too, because they kept switching back and forth. Even though they're lagging far behind, that story was still good to watch.
Mm-hmm. You want to know a little fun trivia from this episode, Rich? Because I finally decided to time it.
Sure. What is it?
How much airtime did they give Evan Dollard this episode?
Okay, I noted he was at the spear throw when they first got there. And is that the only time they showed him?
They showed him one more time later on in the episode.
Okay, so he probably had 10 seconds? 20.
What's your final guess?
I'm going to say 20 seconds.
You are so wrong, it's not even funny.
What is it?
He had a total of 7 seconds on this episode.
7 seconds.
Out of 2 segments, 7 seconds. It's just like, why is he even, like, I felt so bad for this guy.
Now, he was doing some voiceover, too, I noticed. Like, did you count that, too?
No, I didn't notice. I mean, honestly, I don't really notice many of the... Well, there was one actual moment where I actually noticed the announcers or whatever you call them, but that's it.
Yeah, there was only actually one part, and figures it was a pun part that I actually noticed them for once. But we'll get to that later, because it has to do with the injury. Yeah, so they get to the slip wall, and they just like fully executed that. But I don't know, I thought it was really sweet that she kissed him on the forehead as she was climbing up. As much as they were stepping on each other's heads and doing this horrible stuff, she gave him a kiss as she went by. I thought that was adorable.
That was really cute, actually. I appreciate that a lot. I think it shows just, the love and commitment, even in these tough times and all that stress and just, like, you feel like crap. And yet, you still find your loved one and it's like, hey, I still love you. That was really, really cool. It really... I don't know, small things like that really makes me root for their team just because they seem like such a happy and nice couple.
Yeah. So actually my daughter was really taken with the fact that when Grant just scoops her up, doesn't even hesitate. As soon as she injured herself, he just grabs her and carries her. Like, that was really nice.
Yeah, that was cool.
I just loved how the girls on Blonde Ambition were like driving that team. It was such a different... I mean, we saw it with Amelia Boone to some extent, but these girls were, like, dragging the guys along with them.
Yeah, like, the guys were just, like, in the background, like, kind of like the weaklings of the team. The women were amazing, man. I really, I guess I didn't give them enough credit at the beginning of this episode. I know you did. And thinking back, yeah, they were really strong. And I did like the fact that you just have that complete change of just the visual aspect and just how the team is shown, where these women really, led the team. And they did great.
So no big surprise if you're watching along the way. Free Spirits ended up winning it with Blonde Ambition taking the wild card spot. So great first race. Going into the second one with 2 teams to root for that we liked, so that made it even more engaging to see how it all worked out.
Yeah, one note that I want to make, though, is just the announcing at this very end. So, Team Free Spirit, they break the record for the fastest run, not just this episode or anything like that, this entire season, this entire series, actually, right? The fastest run. And the announcers couldn't care less. This is how bad the announcing is for in terms of me, and it never really hit me until this. Here, I'm actually going to play a little snippet so you guys can hear for yourselves just how they announce that they broke the record. Listen to this.
Wow, and the Free Spirits become the first team to finish this course in under 20 minutes.
They're the first team to finish the course in under 20 minutes?
Yeah, so this is basically what happens. They have some sad music or whatever, and then the main announcer goes, "Wow, Team Free Spirit is the first team to finish this in under 20 minutes." And that's it. And I'm like, what? Like, no. They broke the record. Like, if Akbar was on this damn show, their stand would break because he'd be freaking out doing backflips on the damn top of the stand. He'd be like, oh my God! Oh my God! Like, we need more excitement from these guys.
Hang on a sec.
Are you kidding me?
Exactly, man. Like, these guys, I don't notice them enough for them to be a drastic flaw from the show, but the announcing could really improve the show, and they're just not there. Like, and this accentuates it. It's something where it's not offensive, but they just don't care. It reminds me a lot of the first season of American Ninja Warrior, where it's just drab, man. Like, you just don't get me excited for anything that's going on.
We need like an over-the-top color comment. I mean, I think one or the other would be fine, but you need someone to offset that. You need, someone with stuff like...
Oh, it's business time, Matt. You don't wear a shirt when it's business time.
Like, that level of craziness is what we need.
Yeah, we need something like that. And it doesn't even have to be like ridiculous quotes. You just need genuine excitement. Like, these guys are like, yay. But it's not like, oh my God, they did it. Like, it's not genuine, just like sheer excitement. And if they are excited, boy, are they really bad at like showing it in an audio form, man.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good way of putting it. I think that's a fair point. It doesn't matter what they're saying so much as how they're saying. Because we've seen that even with, remember first season Ninja Warrior, like you said, was the commentary was kind of dragging it down. It went to Japan, and the excitement, we didn't even know what they were saying, but the excitement of the announcer made it better.
What a dichotomy, right? Like, when we saw the difference, we're like, oh boy, it is very clear what the issue is with American Ninja Warrior. That's a great point, man. And, this series is going to get compared a lot to American Ninja Warrior. And I feel like that is one glaring thing that's going to stand out a lot.
All right, but this was a good episode. Not to get down on it, it was a good episode overall.
Yeah. That it's literally just like a misnomer little thing, but it's something that should be improved next season. But yeah, man, this is an awesome episode. Let's keep going, man.
Yeah, so in the next race we had then Free Spirits versus Blonde Ambition and the Castle Rock Commandos, who we did get a little bit about. They had the world champion. I thought we had were the other ones like U.S. champions or something? I know we've had who I thought were the best people, but this guy, Robert Killian, is the world champion, and he was the leader of these guys that were like Green Berets. I'm like, oh my God, this team is like stacked.
He's definitely high up there. I definitely know that name, and a lot of people around the sport knows that name as well. With that said, he had a tough task because his team was good, but there's major age deficits on that team that just typically, if it was against any other teams, they would do fine. But they're up against an incredibly, incredibly athletic and strong team with Free Spirit. So I felt bad for them because you didn't really get to see just what Killian's capable of, and his team for that matter.
Yeah, they were just one step behind a team that was setting records, right? So that's saying something.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really interesting when they got to the walls, and the commentary actually helped a little bit here because they were pointing out that the tallest team in the whole competition was struggling with the walls, and then we have one of the shortest competitors on Free Spirits, and they were just bounding over these walls. It was a really good testament to the teamwork.
Yeah, exactly. It requires a lot of teamwork, and also there is the issue of weight. When you're heavier, and I don't mean necessarily bigger, but just, if you're a taller person, you're going to be a little bit more heavier. You need to know how to position yourself. If you go straight upwards, which a lot of these women that fell back were doing because they're too close to the wall, you're going to fly back. You actually need to be angled and kind of positioned. You kind of have to have like a foot or 2 feet barrier from the wall and then lean forward into it. And, that's all those little minor technique things that they need to learn.
Yeah, so the Free Spirits pulled ahead again. And as they were coming off of the, why can I never remember, it was log traverse, whatever the thing is, that's when Joy ended up rolling her ankle. And Grant scoops her up and runs forward with her, and they carry on with her, and she's limping the whole time. Like she hurt her ankle pretty bad. I'm thinking she was probably better the next day, but you would probably know that better than I would. I know I've rolled my ankle like that before, and I was hobbled for a couple hours, but I eventually did kind of recover.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, right? Because when you roll your ankle, it can get better. However, it will get better if you don't do any physical activities
That's
afterwards,
a good
right?
point, yeah.
So who knows? I mean, I was really worried for her in the Herc hoist, and I think it showed a little bit later on in the episode, because the Herc hoist actually has more to do with your legs and your placement. All the pressure goes straight to your ankles and your feet, even more than your hands. So if she was pulling just with the guys, she must have done serious damage here to her ankle if it was already swelling up. With that said, I hope she was smart and just didn't put too much pressure on it and let the rest of the team take in that deficit. I just don't know. But yeah, there's many factors that'll determine that. I mean, who knows? Maybe she might injure it again later on in the finals. It could be many things.
It's funny because you think of their lack of Spartan experience being the kind of their Achilles heel, but they did 3 in a row on the spear throw. Like, go figure.
Yeah, well, they showed a training montage like when they did their video, and the one thing they definitely trained for was that spear throw.
Yeah. So it looks like it paid off.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, it's clear that these guys really trained for this. They took it seriously, and I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, even though they couldn't train together, they did train.
Yeah.
And this is where, on the Herc hoist right after that is when the commentators made the comment of joy and pain. And I just, oh, geez. Like, it was a nice groaner, I thought.
One of those dad jokes or something?
Yeah. So it was interesting. I actually thought that the Blind Ambition had dropped out when they were on the totem climb. It showed them having a lot of trouble. And then I listened to it again. I actually rewound it to make sure. They said that they were almost ready to drop out or something to that effect, not that they had actually quit.
Really? I didn't notice that. What was the issue? They just couldn't get it up or something?
Yeah, they were struggling to get up on the rope, and it fell off, and it looked like they had just, called it quits, but I think it was just they had to regroup and rest for a minute.
Wow. Yeah, it's really demoralizing, especially when you can't get an obstacle the first time, and that played a part with the Herc hoist, with Free Spirit, A lot of these obstacles are both physical and mental, and a major part in it plays with when you feel like you just can't do it. We saw previously times in the season of people getting really, really frustrated with the spear throw in that same effort.
So Joy's limping her way through the whole course, pushing through, doing an amazing job, but it is allowing Castle Rock to catch up, which they did by the dunk walls. They were, pretty much even with them. They were right behind them. But they did still manage to pull through. I didn't think they were going to win. I was actually questioning whether they were going to win or not once they got to the slip wall, because I thought her ankle was going to play into it too much that they wouldn't be able to do it, but they did.
Yeah, but I gotta say, first of all, the moment Joy hurt her ankle, this episode went from good to great. And I hate the fact that it happened with an injury, but it added a lot to just the end of this whole episode, right? It played such a major factor in it. And it's the first time where I really felt all the obstacles we're seeing with her doing it were actually somewhat daunting, right? There was actual consequence, and I really felt worried for her that she was going to hurt herself, especially when it got to that Herc hoist. So, I really appreciated that. Yeah, the dunk walls, the dunk walls play a major factor towards the competitors, but I think visually, to a spectator perspective, it's just not as strong. But the slip wall is still there. It's still awesome to see. And they just had it patented down from day one, man. They knew what to do with all these obstacles. You never really saw major flaws in them. So as long as that ankle holds up, I'm expecting big things from this team.
Yeah, I think if she's 100%, then they are a strong contender to win the whole thing. I'm trying to think of what it is about this that made it so. Was it because we knew the names, or was it because I hate to think it's because of the injury, but in a way it kind of is. It feels like this is what we wanted. This is people pushing through the pain, showing that endurance, showing the grit of what it means to run these Spartan races, or at least what my impression of them was. And I think you get a better overall feel for what it should be when you see them gutting through and doing things at an elite level, not the everyday average Joe mud runner, but these were efficient, high proficiency athletes doing an amazing job.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. That was a perfect point. It genuinely felt like a competition, and for me, I really appreciated that. I can only take so much of average Joe. Let's spend half the episode talking about their story. I can only take so much of that when the series should be much more about, a competition. Yeah, I guess it's like, hey, I'm Average Joe, gonna go on American Ninja Warrior, and that's just seeing an entire episode of everybody failing the second obstacle, when a lot of us just want to see, hey, let's see if Drew Dressel can complete this. Let's see if Jesse Graff can complete this. There's a big dichotomy between the Average Joes and the actual athletes. And it's always nice to have a good mix, but you can't just spend all of your time on one extreme or the other. And this episode really accentuated that. But more importantly than anything else, it's the first time where I actually felt like it was a competition. The previous episodes, it just felt like, here's an episode of us telling you a bunch of stories about people, and hey, there's a race in the background.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I loved at the end. They put all the medals onto Joy. That was really nice.
That was cool.
And they announced that there's going to be a 2-hour finale next week.
Yeah, I'm actually super excited about next week, because my biggest fear was that they're going to run the same exact course next week. And for the final, I was about to lose it, man. I was like, they better not, because who cares then? You can already tell pretty much who the athletic people are, the more athletic teams, right? With a switch up of obstacles, that's going to be really interesting, because the teams like this Free Spirit team, maybe they're only trained for specific obstacles, like the ones that we saw on the regular course. Maybe they're not prepared for the obstacles that are going to be in the final. And when it comes to these types of races, you completing these obstacles are going to make all the difference. So I'm really looking forward to that, and just seeing how people deal with the new situations that they're involved in.
Yeah, so the 6 teams are actually going to be the American Dream Team, Bounce Squad, Muddy Minglers, Team Grit, Comeback Kids, and Free Spirits. So I like those teams. I think this is a good mix. They're ones that we remember because they did a pretty good job of introducing them. I think it's going to be a good episode.
Oh, yeah. Super psyched for next week, man. Who's your top pick for winning?
I'm going to go Muddy Minglers. I'm kind of leaning towards Free Spirits, but it seems kind of cheap since that's one we just watched. I'm going to go Muddy Minglers.
Interesting. I'm going to go with Team Grit. And I will have the addendum that I also agree that Free Spirit is probably the go-to team, but to make it interesting, I'll go with Team Grit.
All right, so we both picked Free Spirits, but we're not going to actually say it.
It's kind of like the safe bet. It's like, come on, let's make it interesting, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll go with that. So yeah, we'll be back. That'll be our final episode covering Spartan for a while, until maybe if it comes back.
That's a big maybe.
Well, yeah, not just the Ultimate Team Challenge, but the other. There's that other Spartan race coming up.
Oh, gotcha.
Right?
Yeah, that actually I'm excited about, because that's actually really fun. It's much more Spartan-ish. Yeah, it's on NBC Sports, I believe.
Yeah, that's what Matt was saying when he was on the show, and I think he said the final's actually going to be on regular NBC too. So maybe whether we cover all of the episodes or just the final, we'll figure out later.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're preparing to run on Spartan or Ninja Warrior, you might need some kettlebells, and why use the same old boring ones? They've got really cool ones over at On It Fitness. You can get to them from our website. They have legend bells, primal bells, zombie bells. They have the coolest looking ones you could imagine. They have battle ropes and battle balls. They got everything you could possibly need for getting in the best shape of your life. So if you are going to On It, make sure you swing by our website first and click on the link so that they know that we sent you there. So that is it for this week. As a reminder, please send us pictures on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you'd like. Show us where you're listening to the podcast right now. So just stop what you're doing, take a quick picture, let us know. It's really great to see what you guys are doing. We love getting responses from you. You can reach us at ninjapodcast.com. We are on Twitter and Instagram as @ninjapodcast. And Bijan, if they want to reach you, how can they do that?
Well, first of all, prepare Rich for a lot of toilet pictures. But yeah, hit me up at Twitter and Instagram at Bijan151, BIJAN151.
All right. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great week.
Peace, y'all.